Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. This is another, I suppose, birthday video if you like. Time recording this, 25th of October, so I'm 36 today, which doesn't compute in my brain. I still feel like I'm about 24 years of age. I don't feel like I've grown up much. Nothing planned for my birthday, as I said in my last video, so I was like, what can I do today? I've done my birthday unboxing, if you like, of my all-time low on pre-order for Everyone's Talking, so that was fun to do. So I was like, what else can I do that's kind of like personal to me, and it also a way to enjoy my birthday, if you like. So obviously yesterday was the 24th of October 2025. Now for any diehard Linkin Park fans like myself, that was the original release date of Hybrid Theory. So it's hit its 25th anniversary. Holy shit. Because I did a post on my Instagram about it, talking about, like, looking back on it, how it changed my life, that album. It started this lifelong journey of being a Linkin Park fan, and this like relationship of me being a fan of the band. So I was like, well, I suppose I could do a little vloggy type video talking about it. So yep, here we are. Obviously this is the 20th anniversary edition. It's mad that it was like 5 years ago we celebrated 20 years and now we're at the 25th anniversary. I'll see if the original artwork, because I don't know what happened. I did have the original CD. It's somewhere, but I was like, I couldn't find it. So I was like, well, this will do for the video. So yeah, I thought I'd do a little discussion talking about it. So yeah, I remember buying this when I was in school, because I was just getting into, well, I was just starting to get into rock and stuff, and like exploring the scene, and basically trying to just throw myself on the deep end and just find as many bands as I could to try and find what I enjoyed. And Linkin Park was one of the first ones, because there was like, I think it was 5 or it was 6 albums. It was Limp Bizkit, Chocolate Starfish, it would have been Papa Roach, Infest, Nickelback, The Silver Side Up. It was one of Nickelback's first albums I bought. Then it was, I think it was Enemy of the State, Blink-182. There was Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. Well, they were the 5 that sort of started me on this, like, yeah, started me on this lifelong love of music and getting to the scene. And this was one of the albums that was very, very important to that, because, yeah, so at the time, obviously, me, I would have been turning 11. The next day after this came out, it was my 11th birthday. So I was literally in secondary school or high school for any American viewers. Yeah, to say it was like a big moment for me as like getting into music, it would be a severe understatement. Because you know, you see all those memes and stuff when it's like, oh, the first time you listen to Linkin Park and you see a video of someone's head going like that. That was me as a kid. It was like opening this new world to me, and like the things that they incorporated to make obviously that album and what Linkin Park, as we know, eventually became. It was just like, whoa, I love this. It was like a breath of fresh air at the time. No one was really blending like sort of like metal, hip hop, electronic production, like cool samples and stuff at the time. I suppose you could kind of say maybe Limp Bizkit were to a degree, and sort of Deftones, I guess. But I think the way that Linkin Park did it, it was just, I don't know, there was something about it that was like a holy shit, this is like a moment in time right now. You know, with Linkin Park as well, Hybrid Theory was the original band name. This is a bit of a Linkin Park trivia session for you now. I know no one asked for it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Yeah, that was their original name until obviously Chester joined, because obviously Chester wasn't the original vocalist, it was Mike Snowden, I think his friend Mark, and then obviously Chester joined, but they changed it to Linkin Park and made Hybrid Theory the album title. At the time it was cool because it was like, you had Mike Snowden rapping over like the distorted guitar sounds, and then you had like Chester Bennington coming with his clean vocals to those like iconic guttural heavy ass screams, and it was just like, it was like a Jekyll and Hyde situation in the best possible way. We all miss Chester, wish he was still here, but for me, no one will ever do it as good as he did. Like, there was just something about him that it's one of those once in a lifetime sort of talents, you know what I mean? It's like, it's something that's never going to be repeated. There'll only ever be one Chester Bennington, and obviously we got all the albums with him on it. But yeah, just the way he did it, he was a powerhouse. Like, you look at him and you just think, oh, okay. But then when you actually hear him sing, you saw him perform, you're like, this guy's got something else that's just unheard of. And obviously with this album, he went 12 times platinum, which is bonkers. Like, for albums to go platinum once is the thing, but to do it 12 times, madness. And I think it was, reading up, it was like it sold 30 million copies worldwide, which is ridiculous. Like, to sell that many units, and obviously we know Linkin, but I guarantee you, anyone that got into music that's involved in any of the scene, I guarantee you Hybrid Theory would have been one of those CDs in your collection. Like, it would be very rare. Like, the amount of people I've met over the years and said, oh yeah, when I first got into music, like, Hybrid Theory was the first album I got into, and I was like, yep, me too. And I think it became the best selling album of the 21st century as well, which again, just having all these different accolades, it just shows like the relevance and the importance of this record. And then you got like songs like, you know, In the Ends, Crawling, One Step Closer and Paper Cut. They just became like the anthems, and they, to this day, they're still those iconic anthemic songs that just, they've spanned so many generations as well. Because you think like 25 years, as people my age, they got into it back then, they probably have kids and have reintroduced their kids to Linkin Park now to get them into music. So it's kind of like this generational pass the baton sort of thing. I think the reason this album has always come back to me, and it's one I always listen to, it's just because I think as a young kid at the time, it felt like it was known for, I suppose, people or kids or fans that felt a bit misunderstood. They didn't know their place, didn't know what they were supposed to do with life. It was this idea of like, you didn't know where you belonged, like if you should go one way or go another way, and it was like trying to find a sense of purpose. And I don't know, it was just the first time I heard this album, it was just something just clicked in my brain, and I went, oh, okay. And it was just, yeah, it was kind of like, it sounds really a bit cliche, but it was kind of like I suppose it was like a life learning experience, listen to those 12 songs, because there was just something about that album that it just tricked something in my brain, and I was just like, this is literally like opened my mind and my eyes to a lot of stuff in the world. And obviously that's quite hard to do as a young kid, because I didn't know what I was 11 years old, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, but I know I wanted to get into this kind of music. And it was like, I had friends at the time, but I don't know, for me, I've always felt a bit of a, not a loner, but kind of like an outsider. Like I've never really clicked in or found my crowd. Obviously I have now, but at the time, again, young kid trying to figure out this crazy life, and then this album was just like the catalyst, and it kind of has been like an anchor for all these years. The fact it's like 25 years old, I mean, bruh. But the album, it still goes as hard now as it did back then, if not more so, I'd say, in this day and age. There's just something about this album, it's a 10 out of 10 for me, and it's one of my all-time favourite albums. If I was to list a top 10 albums of all time, this would probably be near the top of the list, if not the top of the list, I think, just because it's done so much for me personally. It's always been a bit of a comfort, and it just, yeah, it literally changed my life. Like, I don't say that lightly. You know, you hear like a certain song or an album or a band comes into your life. This was the one that I just went, this is going to change everything for me as a person, and it did. With Hybrid Theory, obviously some people might think different. This is just me. Obviously it's my video, so I can sort of speak my mind on it. I think with Hybrid Theory, it was so ahead of its time. And what I mean by that, it was just all these different elements that they put together. Like, you think about it, you had like the turntables that were used, you've got these cool sample sounds, and obviously the different program for the sounds as well. You had like these big booming industrial heavy ass drums. There was this kind of like futuristic cyberpunk dystopian sound to it, and obviously we now know that this is what we class as new metal, but at the time it was all these different things that on paper you think this shouldn't actually work, but then the way that Linkin Park did it, and obviously this is, you know, credit to Mike Shinoda and Joe Hahn as well, because those two are just, yeah, they just know sounds, samples, like production. It shouldn't have worked, but it freaking worked, and it was just, yeah, this started everything, this album. With all these different elements as well, like Linkin Park, they just took everything that they obviously love, because all six of them would have had different influences and stuff. They put all these things into making this band, and it's just, it became, like, from this album, they were pretty much playing arenas within a few years, which, having one album to be an arena band, like, it was just, it felt like it went from a small setting here to arenas here very, very quickly. I keep going back to it, it sounded so ahead of its time, and it had this kind of like massive cinematic otherworldly sound to it. It's really hard to describe what I'm trying to say with this, but yeah, it was just very, very ahead of its time. You know, this 25 years of Hybrid Theory retrospective, I think the album hits even harder today than it did when it first came out. Obviously, you know, with the passing of Chester as well. I was lucky I got to see Linkin Park. I only saw them once with Chester. To this day, that is still my all-time favourite show I've ever been to. Like, it was just 3 hours at the O2, 2014. It was on the Hunting Party era. I've seen a lot of amazing vocalists, but I've never ever seen a performance like Chester Bennington. Him and Mike Shinoda, it was unreal, because some singers may not sound as good live, but he sounded exactly like he did on record, but it was live. And when he done the Given Up scream, I thought the guy's eyes were going to pop out of his damn head, because he did it, and then he carried on singing it, and I just remember going, what have I just seen? It was completely like, holy shit. It was one of those moments that I'll never forget it, because I just remember with my friend, and we both looked at each other like, because I just couldn't believe. And obviously the scream on the record obviously has a certain, he just kept going, and then he just went into the chorus like that. I was like, he was just on another level. Lyrically, it lands differently now. I think because obviously we know he's not here anymore, but this album's like a time capsule in a sense that you listen to it and you're like, yeah, it takes you back to, well, it takes me back at least to when I first got into it. The lyrics have different meanings now as I'm a bit older as well, 25 years down the road. Obviously, each song for me, catalogues a certain memory, moment in time, obviously what I was feeling at the time as a kid, and then that album, it just followed me through school, through college, through uni, to like adolescent life to now, and I listen to it at least once every day. And yeah, it is like a moment in time, this album. So I listen to it a lot, but I re-listened to it before I sort of started to do this video. It's a timeless album. Like, it's really hard to say that of a lot of records, but it just feels timeless. It sounds just as good today as it did back in 2000, even better today. And obviously, this is my opinion. Don't at me in the comments, but this album, bearing in mind it's 25 years old, it sounds a lot better than some of the stuff we get in the modern day. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing bands, so many awesome albums that are coming out today, but I don't know, it's just, to me, they don't have the quality or the production or the scope that Hybrid Theory has. It's just, I mean, this album, I love it to death, man. Like, this is where it all started. 6 kids, essentially, trying their luck, and it became one of the biggest albums of the 21st century, one of the biggest debuts of all time, and it changed everything for music. Like, because a lot of the bands we all love and enjoy, I guarantee you, Hybrid Theory was one of the ones that got them into it. Obviously, we know with Linkin Park, Emmy Armstrong, she listened to this, and it's what got her to want to sing and scream. It's really hard to sum this up in a video, because how do you sum up an album that literally was such a key, pivotal point in your life that just changed everything, and you were like, this is my feeling of belonging? And it just, like, I don't know, it had this community feel to it. Like, me and my friends at the time, like in school, when we was all getting into it, like, I remember going around one of my friends' houses and his brother was blaring it, and I was like, oh, that's Linkin Park. He's like, yeah. And his brother was a big Linkin Park fan at the time as well. And then it was obviously, they then released Reanimation, which was all the remixes of the songs of it, and Reanimation that's an underrated album as well. I didn't really know how I was going to cap this video off, because I'm like, again, I don't know how to sum up a video that on an album that was so life-changing. I don't say that lightly, because it just opened a door for everything. Like, I just thought it was just rock, right? And then I get into Linkin Park, and I was like, you've got new metal, there's metalcore, there's post-hardcore, there's grunge, there's alternative, there's pop-punk, the list just went on and on and on. And then I was just like, it just opened a door to all these different avenues musically. And yeah, I don't think I'd have the music taste I have today if it wasn't for Hybrid Theory and Linkin Park, because they're my favourite band of all time, Linkin Park. Obviously, there's some albums I know that were different in terms of the style they went, and so that's fine. Not every band's going to knock out 10 out of 10 album every time, but you see the growth and the change. And it all stems back to Hybrid Theory. And obviously, everyone's got their favourite. I just think Hybrid Theory and Meteora, they are two of the greatest albums ever made, personally. What those albums symbolise, what they did for the band, it just projected them. Like, they just went from, like I said, a small band to like an arena band in less than 5 years. When they played this in full at Download, was it 2014? I wasn't there, sadly. Well, I've seen a lot of videos of it, and I'm just like, oh, I would have loved to have been there that year, because that would have been quite special to obviously see the album in full. I've always just do a video, really, just because, one, it's obviously, I wanted something to do on my birthday, and two, I want to talk about my favourite album of all time. But yeah, the fact it's 25 years old, I'm just, where's that time gone? Like, that's just ridiculous when you think about it. It changed everything. It changed the way music was made, how things were produced, like the sounds, the samples, the way guitars were recorded, the big industrial drum sound, how the bass worked with the guitars well, and just having this dynamic of Mike Shinoda and Chester Bennington. And it was like, I think at the time as well, some people thought, how's this going to work? Because obviously there was a lot of gatekeeping and snobbery back then with music, like you can't have this or that in bands. I mean, there's a degree of it today. Sadly, it's always going to exist. Yeah, it's just, when you talk about the different elements, you're like, this should not have worked, but it did. And thankfully, it just, it changed the scope of so many things. And yeah, I don't feel I'd be the person to say about this album, because this was a real pivotal moment, buying that album when I was 11 years old in 2000. Yeah, I remember buying it after school, and this is how old I am, I had a CD Walkman back then, and I remember just before I'd even got home, ripped it out, put it in the CD Walkman, walked home from school, and by the time I got home, I was like, holy shit, this is... I was like, I didn't know what it was at the time, but I just know I was like, this is big. This is, yeah. 25 years of Hybrid Theory. It's just meant... I don't know if they're going to do like a sort of 25 years like anniversary edition, because I've been trying to get the 20th anniversary of Hybrid Theory for a while, but it's just so expensive at the moment, because it's got like all the different vinyls, like there's an art book, there's like a art banner I think and stuff. We're trying to get that and the Meteora 20 package, but they're quite pricey, so maybe I'll get them some point, who knows. That's my sort of my love letter to Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. Interesting guys, what you think. I imagine a lot of people that do watch my videos, you probably all must have bought this out back in the day or came across it at some point. Happy birthday Hybrid Theory, 25 years. Where the shit has that time gone? That was just my cool little retrospective, just yeah, reliving about when I first heard it. But yeah, thanks for watching this one guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like us, subscribe down below, stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you on the next video. Till then guys, take care, have a good day, thanks for watching, and peace out.